Okay, here we are again. This opportunity I would like to share what the microbiome is, what is my understanding about that I've been gathering, of course, from multiple sources about what this amazing community of biological entities we have in our body and on our body, and what's the relevance for us in regarding our health and the symbiotic relationship we have also with the environment. So, first of all, what's the microbiome? The microbiome is the total population of living microorganisms that we have inside and on our bodies, and these count quadrillions in numbers. Maybe we haven't been able to figure out the total number yet, and we might not be able to. But the most important thing is this total population is comprised with multiple types of microorganisms, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, archaea. You have like a blend of a huge diversity of types of microbes, and they're all contributing to bring something to your own biology. Now, the problem is that we were centered in the idea that the human cell was and is the center of the universe of our biology. We think that the human cell, is driving and directing all the metabolic processes we need in order to be healthy. And we have been focusing our approach of medicine on this concept, which is completely erroneous with the old information we have right now. The reality is that the amount of information our cells have is very little. We're talking about 20,000 pair of genes in a human cell, and if you match that to other organisms in this world, a rice plant has 40,000, and so we're half as complex, genetically speaking, as a rice plant, which is mind-boggling, and you can get depressed for a minute just by getting that information. But the reality is because we don't really need that information in our own cells. Our cells are very efficient to make mainly our structure. They give us our frame, our biological frame, our anatomy, all the tissues we want to make. And the other thing they do is produce an energy, and they're super efficient for doing that. They can grab whatever from our food intake, our energy sources, and they can transform that in a type of energy we can utilize to perform and to be alive. But where all this other information is located is in the human microbiome. There you have approximately, and this maybe needs to be updated, 3.3 non-redundant million genes that are being connected and interacted with our own genetics. So from that massive amount of information is where we get all the pieces that we need to know in order to do things to be healthy and thriving in this world. But the story doesn't really end in that part, because that will be only the fixed amount of information we usually carry mainly in our gut. We have microbes and microbial diversity everywhere in the body, but the main part that all these populations are located is in the gut ecosystem, especially in the colon. But moving forward in this concept, imagine also the amount of microbes we're breathing or eating per second. We are surrounded, and this is a concept that has been given by Dr. Zach Bush and other practitioners as well. We have a massive amount of viruses around us in the environment. If you can spray paint the amount of microbes we have between each other, you won't be able to see the tip of your nose. It's massive. And bacteria, We have massive amount of them. I've been listening to a lot of practitioners who are talking about the bioecology and concepts and how much microbes we have and we are surrounded by in our environment, and we just can't get around of them. And the whole concept of allopathic medicine, in terms of the approach they have and the relationship they have with the microbes, is that we need to suppress them, and they're a threat, and they can bring a lot of damage to our biology, which au contraire, this is actually something that brings so much benefits to our biology. Imagine that for a minute that this is a library, and the more amount of books you put in that library, the more set of information you have available when you need. So you can carry a certain amount, but we have this also dynamic exchange with other libraries that is brought by this genetic information that is carried by microbes, viruses, bacteria, whatever they are, and you are inhaling them or eating them. They get into your own library and they check, oh, I do have this book, oh, maybe not, I don't have a copy of this, maybe it will be useful to have it in my library. So you do this exchange of information between what you have here and what you're bringing from the outside, and you're able then to adapt and becoming more resilient to what you need in order to be healthy and perform. So that being said, the ability of your body relies of how good you are for interacting with your biological environment, and that information you're putting in your body becomes one with your own biology when you're allowing these pathogens and these pathways to be accepted and becoming incorporated in your own body. So the relevance of the microbiome for our health is mind-boggling. Just for giving you an example, this was a concept brought by Kieran from Microbiome Labs. I love this idea. When you create an organism with a fully developed immune system, but no microbes, no microbiome at all, your immune cells facing any type of alert or pathogen or something that can be detrimental to your health, they do nothing. The immune cells will not move a finger. But when you incorporate the microbiome, then your immune cells know what to do. So your immune system is really relying on the capability of your microbiome to bring the information and modulate responses in order for you to perform and react in a certain way to whatever you're being exposed from the environment. So if you really want to set up something massively important for your health, like the immune system in a good place, you need the microbiome to tell your immune system what to do. And even more, the same concept. For every single immune cell you have in your body, you have a ratio of approximately 200,000 cells that are surrounding that immune cell and interacting with it. We have something that's called the interactome, and the interactome is the amount of genes that you are exchanging with your own cells. And the amount of interactions that you can bring between your own genetics and the genetics that are brought or / information that is brought by the microbiome, still you can put that in a number in a blackboard. Is beyond still our understanding or capability to dimension as in the full spectrum. So that is what really makes us a high evolved complex organism. We are a universe in our own. We are a beautiful, diverse community of biological entities living all together. And we usually get deceived at who we are just because we look at the mirror and we see these massive cells that we we know as our human cells or mammalian cells, and they are of course they're caught our attention they get our attention in the mirror, and we define ourselves of who we are just by this shape and size we are measuring ourselves. But the reality is that we are way more complex than that. And when we put our focus in the microbial world, then you start seeing that we are just combining so many different elements of different type of biological entities to really build up who we are. And if we don't take care of that major component of our body, then really we're not going to get too far regarding our health and our future in this world. My understanding of the microbiome is that was a system that evolved with us since the very beginning of the humankind, and it allows us to adapt and become resilient, because you move from one place to another, you change your habits or your lifestyle, and you will have at the same time an available amount of information from that new environment, from that new type of food, from that new exposure, in order to bring what is needed for your body to adapt to that new condition. If we were just a rice plant with 40,000 pairs of genes and we just have this fixated amount of information, our resilient capability, our adaptability will be zero. So we're very little. So that's why we really have what we have, and that's why we have this little amount of information, because that gives a place and an amount of space that we can use for interacting with all this other massive amount of information. That's for me the key piece of relevance of the microbiome in our own biology, and how we rely on them in order to be us. Now, since we established right now how important is the microbiome regarding our own biology and our health, in future videos I will be sharing some actionable forms of taking care of our microbiome, putting some good things that your bacteria will love, and what they are eating, what they need to be fed with, what they're breathing, different ecosystems you have in your body. And I think that's a really beautiful conversation to understand what we can do in order to make our health better and to improve and be optimal. We have a very short life or existence in this world. I don't think that defines our entire existence, but at least physically here and present in this world, we have a very short amount of time, and we want to be thriving and be able to utilize that in the best way possible. And I think that if we start focusing on who we are regarding our beautiful symbiotic relationship with all the remaining biology that we have and all these microbes that we have co-evolved with, you will definitely get a way better experience in your life. So I invite you to watch the next video. I'll be talking more about what to do to make your microbiome better. I'll see you then.